I'm Jim Czek. You're watching KelownaNow. I'm here now with Tania and Gustafson. We're here with the Fit with Nutrition show today. Big show. We're going to talk about stress levels and cortisol levels. Right?
Yeah, it's
cortisol?
kind of a buzzword out there, right?
Is it?
You hear a lot about
there
it.
You go. Me?
You probably don't because you're not stressed.
No, I'm not.
No stress at all. not with all the back-to-back great interviews you've had today or nothing like that, right?
So I don't know, like stress to different people at different stress levels. Right? I mean,
yes.
I used to work in an accounting firm, and some people would say, I mean, they used to say that the accounting firm is the most stressful place in the world to work, and I would argue with them and say absolutely not. But
it's to a degree what
deadlines,
you make
it's what you make of it, right?
Yeah.
Some people will get stressed working at, a big box store, and some people will get stressed as a brain surgeon, and some people will really calm as a brain surgeon, right?
Those are the ones you want if you need brain surgery.
Yeah, so stress sometimes is, like obviously if it's new environments cause people stress, right? Like when you're into something new or bad news and stuff like that, that tends to stress people out.
It does.
Sure.
Anything that's kind of like different.
Out of the usual.
Yes, out of the usual. So it can be a good thing, like you said, right? Maybe there's a new baby in the family. Maybe there's a wedding, something like that. It's totally, those are good things, but they just, or people coming to visit.
See, right now you could get stressed out because you could say, Jason, what are you doing? You got Fit Nutrition just like floating right above on top of us there instead of in the bottom corner. But hey,
that's okay.
We're not going to get stressed. We'll keep our cortisol levels there.
Exactly.
Small,
oh,
right?
there,
See?
like he's already on it.
Floating around.
Yeah, maybe his
there,
stress level is up, right?
So how do you deal with it?
Well, kind of like what Jason just did. He's like this. This is really. He's kind of letting it go. This is
good.
All zen. But he's all zen, right? And so there's that. But people are sometimes just like, I just can't do that. I just can't let it all go, right? But the thing is, so cortisol is actually a good thing. Like we need some of it, right? We need some of it in our body to help with energy and it helps us recover from things like that. But too much. We come back to the too much of a good thing is never a good thing.
And your body generates this. It's not something you take.
It does.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It comes, in the adrenal glands and pituitary gland and other things. And so when it's produced over and over and over and over
is
and
it
over
the friend
again,
of adrenaline? Does adrenaline happen first sometimes, or
the cortisol comes and the adrenaline comes, the epinephrine, right, and the norepinephrine, and it comes and it's your stress response. And the thing is, your body and your brain doesn't really know if the stress is because you're being chased by a tiger or if you're freaked out because all of a sudden, 6 family members showed up for the weekend and you hadn't gone grocery shopping. Like it doesn't know the difference, or you forgot your spouse's anniversary to make the reservation and you're on your way home from work already. You're like, oh my gosh, we forgot.
Well, you have less stress because they'll leave you and then you don't have to worry about it.
Could be less or could be more, but right.
I kid.
Yeah, I know. But so that will prompt you to so say you forgot the dinner reservation. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden it hits you, right? You feel that and the stress level goes up. You maybe pull over to the side of the road or into the parking lot. You quickly call the restaurant. You get
I just drive through again. I just go around again because it's the drive-through.
Oh yeah. You wouldn't do that on your anniversary. Come on, Jim. Anyway, but that'll prompt you to solve a problem, right? To bring a solution to it. It's the fight or flight syndrome. Now, if you're being, chased by a tiger, you would run. There's the solution, right? And hopefully you're not the slowest person in the pack, and then you'll get away.
Run faster than the slowest person.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when you get to the other end, then, okay, crisis averted and the cortisol comes down. But in our daily lives, that sometimes doesn't go away.
Some people are kind of like at an elevated stress level
all the time. And I just had a great chat here with Jason right when we were waiting to get organized here. And he was saying about all the things in the news. And I noticed that I don't ever go to the news first thing in the morning because that just, there goes your cortisol and your stress right first thing in the morning. It starts you off at an elevated spot. And then it's really hard to come down from there for the rest of the day. But some people, they read they go to the news first thing in the morning while they're having their coffee or their breakfast. And then they deal with all the stressors through the day, throughout work. And then they check the news before they go to bed. And so they get another daily dose of all the negativity that's out there. Because, let's face it, the crisis are what people look for in the news, right? There's not
on KelownaNow. We're all about the good stuff.
That's right. You do show the good stuff. So I must say that's great. So look up KelownaNow first for your news and find the happy things, the stuff that matters. I love that little blurb, the stuff that matters. Yeah, so go to that stuff. And then if you need to check the stuff in the world, just wait a little bit until you've started your day, get a nice positive routine going so that you can, get your
part
body
of that though is like get stressed about things that you can affect and not really about things that you have no control over, right? Because what's happening in the world, you have little to zero control over.
Yes. You don't have much control over that.
If you get worked up on stuff that you have no control over, then
right.
then you need to find a better mechanism to manage your stress level, right?
Which is another reason why to not being perseverating and keep checking on that news, because if there's something that you can't change, it keeps that level elevated, and elevated levels of cortisol, it creates that internal inflammation. Right. It also creates, so there's 2 levels of stress with the cortisol in your body to do with your brain. And you need some, like I said, a little bit is good, right? But then when you get too much, the brain then says, okay, no, we're having too much. We need to stop. And it doesn't accept any. And then none is also bad. So that can trigger like depression. It can trigger memory loss. It can trigger so the brain itself starts to deteriorate and shrink when you don't have some. So too much is not good, not enough. And you get those symptoms that actually mimic PTSD, and the depression escalates. So if you're already a person who's prone to that, it's going to escalate and your moods are going to swing wider and you're going to have all of these issues. And you may not even realize that it's something that you can control a little bit of with what you're doing in your day. And then if you need extra help, there are things like adaptogens and natural plant-based things that you can use to help to support that. Because we don't want to ever, with our immune system, with our cortisol, with our insulin, with our cholesterol, any of that, we don't ever want to jack something up or suppress something down.
So this is where nutrition kind of ties in then, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
Help manage your stress levels.
You want to regulate it. You want to set your body up into a state where it's regulating all of these things, not like, so you hear, oh, it's cold and flu season, you need to boost up your immune system. Well, yeah, sort of. But if you set your body up in a way that that everything is running how it should, it will do that when it needs to, and then it will come back to normal.
Right.
Right. Same with all of those other things, the cortisol, the cholesterol, the insulin. All
so like
those
a high sugar diet would likely lead to higher stress and higher reactions. And
it will lead to a higher internal stress as well because it's inflammatory. Right. And so what that does, inflammation is like, picture an apple. If you cut the apple in half and then it gets brown when you leave it on the counter, right? If you put some lemon juice on it, doesn't get brown. Does that mean it's never going to rot? No, but it's sure going to extend that life, right? And it's going to be fresher longer. And so when we remove, and so leaving it without the lemon juice is like adding the sugar, adding the processed foods to the detriment of of the whole foods, right? Whereas if your scale is the other way and you're having more whole foods and these things once in a while, then you're basically lemon juicing. Right. But every time you don't, you're like, oh, that lemon juice is getting all washed off and that apple's getting more rotten and more rotten. And you ever seen those little apple head dolls and the old thing? Yeah. So you're literally cannibalizing on the inside, and that inflammation is just getting worse and worse and worse, which makes us deteriorate on the inside.
So what is a good way to manage like your cortisol levels? How do you like, what is finding Zen or meditating, I imagine, and good
meditation
nutrition?
Is great. Yeah. Meditation and prayer. So there's physical things you can do. Like I recommended to all my clients, and I do myself, to start off a good morning time routine. So leave your phone out of your bedroom, right? Don't have it with you. If you must use it for an alarm clock, flip it over, make sure there's no blue light coming out of it, right? And then when it goes off, like, pick it up and get up out of bed and just put it down. Like, so get up right away, and we can talk about sleep another day, but you should be not hitting the snooze button. But getting up and then leaving your phone for about half an hour to an hour, have that nice quiet time where you get up and you have your breakfast or have your tea, whatever. I always recommend having, something with protein within that first hour, and doing like your meditation. I do my Bible reading. I do my devotions. I read whatever book of the month I'm reading at that time. And then I get up and go to the gym. And I have my notifications set so that I'm not pinged with anything until a certain time, so that I'm up for at least an hour.
And I usually don't use my phone for about the first 3 hours.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
fantastic. One of the mantras I have is change your mindset, change your world.
Yep.
Because I think Marcus Aurelius said it too. Like, if you try to focus on things that you have no control over and worry about those things, like, you drive yourself crazy.
You will.
Right? So
you absolutely will.
So affect the change that you can actually affect, right? As opposed to, you can't change other people either, right? You can show them, but like, if you're expecting change from others, you're fooling yourself.
Absolutely.
Think, right? So.
Yes. If you're expecting, yourself to feel better, like conditional on someone else coming over to your opinion.
They need to do this. Like they need to do this for me to feel better.
No, that's not going to happen.
And I say that this is really like a good thing. Like change your mindset, and then you'll change your world, because your world will change literally inside your own head, right?
Right. And here's something to think about too. Like you become like the 5 people you hang around the most.
Sure.
So you may have to like take a look at your friends that you hang around with, or people that you're working with. It's okay, Jim. You're one of the 5. It's okay. But, if you're taking a look and you're like, well, negative Nancy over here, right. I have to see her at work every single day. But does that mean that you need to, go to all the functions where she's going to be? Or does that mean maybe you might want to go for a walk at lunchtime if you know that she's having lunch at the same time in the staff room, and it's just going to be a whole negative fest,
you become
right?
the sum of what you travel with.
Exactly,
And to really make this really visual for people, if the 4 people you hang around with the most smoke, you're likely going to smoke, right?
Yeah.
Or if they drink, you're likely going to drink.
Exactly. You're going to develop those habits.
If they eat a lot of cheesecake, you're likely going to eat a lot of cheesecake.
Yeah. But if you hang around with people who are, focused on the positive things and focused on, improving their own health and personal development and all of those kinds of things, then you're kind of always like, striving to do a little bit more, one more step.
That's why nobody hangs out with me, because it's like, you're no fun.
They're saying you don't drink Coke anymore, Jim. You're not fun.
Drink all that
right? You don't eat all that stuff anymore.
Like, what's going on?
What's going on with you, right?
You're all zen.
You're all zen. I don't know. Are you all zen all the time? I don't think anybody is, really.
I try to be, though. No, I try. Yeah. I try really hard, right?
Yeah.
I try not to let things, especially other people's actions, you really have to, because you can't control other people.
No,
right? The sooner you realize that'll help, right?
Absolutely.
Expecting change from others to fill your needs is a tough thing.
Right. And then also from yourself, expecting, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's not going to happen just because
Einstein, that's insanity.
Yeah, it is, right? So like if you're just thinking that, hey, this should probably change because it's been long enough, well, what have you been doing in that time to affect that change, right? And it doesn't have to be a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Just pick one little thing and do that and do it consistently. And as you start feeling better and noticing a change, you might want to add something else. And we've talked about that before, right? That 1%.
Right. Be better. My competition is, again, based on that, is be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I call it the 1% principle when we coach, right? Just that 1%. And it makes a huge difference when it's compounded, right? That whole penny doubled for a day for a month, right? That's just right. It's huge. And so when we can put that into practice, we can do a whole lot of change in our lives. But it's just interesting how, and then cortisol also affects testosterone levels, which men and women both have that. Women have like much less than men, obviously, but our levels will drop much more quickly than your levels.
So physical activity will actually trigger that as well, I take it?
Yep.
Yeah, so that'll help you manage your cortisol
It will help you manage that. Yes, absolutely. Because it will help to break that stress cycle. So you want to have a break in it. Like when you're running from the tiger and you look back and the tiger's gone, you're like, whew, I have a break and everything. You just feel that relief, right? But when you're in that corporate world and you're always in the meeting and you're, or whatever your job is, right? And you're tense, you're like this all the time and you feel like you're always tense and you go home to relax, but you go home and you pick up your phone or you get your laptop and you brought your work home with you and all those kinds of things. And you're sitting on the couch, but you're not actually relaxing. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's constant. It's the same as, I've used this analogy quite a bit. You scratch yourself on your hand. A little bit of inflammation is good. It causes the stem cells to come here and heal, right? So it gets a little red, it gets a little hot, it heals all up, you're good to go, you leave it. A week goes by, you don't even know it's there. Now, say like 2 or 3 days in, you're like, it gets itchy and you scratch it and you pick the scab off, it's bleeding again. You're like, darn, okay, start again. Leave it alone, it's itchy, I can't. And you're one of those people that just kind of pick things and you keep picking it and picking it and picking it. What happens? Like it gets infected, it doesn't heal, and it gets kind of nasty after a while. I
think the solution is cut your right hand off.
Could be the other way. But what happens is like, that's the same that's going on inside. So if you get that visual picture of like, that's chronic inflammation, right? Anything. Just continuing to fester.
Kick at a fester,
Yeah. And it's like you're continually pulling that scab off and causing some infection to happen somewhere. And that whole thing cascades physically, mentally. Spirals down. And and it's not so great. So I've got a little thing here about people can check this off and see So I put together a list, and I didn't want to forget anything. I'm sure there's more things, but just from random. So if your cortisol is elevated from stress, you're probably going to be experiencing, you can tell if that's happening. You're going to have increased appetite and cravings. You're going to have an increased body fat, decreased muscle mass, and decreased bone density. Those two things go together. A lot of people aren't quite realizing that as you do things that chip away at your muscle mass, it also decreases your bone density. You'll have mood swings, increased anxiety, depression, libido goes down, memory and learning. So sometimes people are thinking, oh, as I get older, I'm just going to get forgetful. Nope. There's a lot of science behind what we're doing. That's not just an acceptable thing to accept as you're getting older, right? And then for women, increasing symptoms of PMS and menopause symptoms. You're experiencing many more hot flashes. So
irritability,
if you're stressed.
right?
Irritability. Yeah, a lot of stuff. It comes there. So now you can see if you are I call it a type C personality, which would be your cortisol personality, right? So is it, I'm going to ask these questions, and if you have, if you're checking yes to all of these questions or a lot of these questions.
I'll answer for you.
Okay, here we go. So if you're a type C personality, meaning you're stressed and your cortisol is high, right? So are you always in a hurry?
No.
Do you have less time in a day to do the stuff you want to do? So like 25 hours of work in a 24-hour day?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Feeling depression?
No.
Fatigue?
No.
Low sex drive?
No.
Trouble concentrating or focusing on tasks?
No.
And weight gain around the middle?
What's that?
Weight gain around the middle.
No, I'm good there.
You're good there. So you are really good. So you're not a type C personality, but there's a lot of people out there. If you're thinking about your as I'm reading this list, you're going, yeah, okay, maybe 1. Oh, that one's not so bad. Maybe 2, 3, 4. If you're like, 3, 4 of these things, you're going to have to start considering that your cortisol level is probably higher.
I think it was when I was like 50 pounds heavier. I think like the cravings were just crazy.
Yes.
Right? It's like the wolf wants to eat sugar. Like in the wolf, like I would like because we had a little machine in the office that dispensed candy.
Yeah.
And I'd burn through all my loonies. And so then I would go around, trade $5 bills for a loonie.
Oh, right? My goodness.
Because I needed what was in that machine.
You just need that sugar fix. Yeah. Well, that's your body's physiological response when things are happening. And when, and think about it, when you're stressed and you need to have the fight or flight response, you need the quick movement. So what's going to give you a quick boost temporarily, right? It's a high starch or a high sugar or high carby thing like that.
Fix, right?
It's a little quick fix.
You needed that to kind of like satisfy that. And when the wolf, like if you have those cravings, right? Like when the wolf wants to eat, like it will eat, right? It's the same thing if you have the stuff in your home and you know where it is and you have one of those cravings, like the wolf will seek it out. It will,
for sure. And that's a natural response. So I just want to let people know that if you are feeling cravings and things like that, it's not that you have a lack of willpower. It's like what Jim just said, like you're being prompted because your body is out of balance, because your cortisol is high, your stretch is too high. Right? The urges are high because things are not where they should be. Your body is not fundamentally in balance. It's like, it's whacked out, right? And so you need to bring it back into alignment and have it, and you'll notice the cravings will go down.
Obviously, if people are physically fit, they have a discipline, right? Because everybody has the same type of cravings usually, and then just the more you set discipline for yourself, the less you cater to those cravings.
Right, and setting discipline on the things that will create health in your body. Yeah. Right. So not
healthy
using
habits. Basically.
Yeah, healthy habits. Not using exercise as a punishment, because that for a lot of people, I think that's where they went before. Is like, oh, I've gained some weight, so I have to work out, or I ate pizza, so I have to.
Yeah, I had ice cream last night. I'll go work out in the morning.
That's right.
Work it off. Right?
Exactly. I'm punishing myself.
I think you need to do that first and say, I come eat ice cream tonight. I need to run on this treadmill for 3 hours, and you'd say, well, you know what? I don't want the ice cream.
Yeah, but no, because again, that's punishing yourself for it's a whole negative for a negative, you know, as opposed to, you know what, I'm going to do some good things for my body on a consistent basis, and if my grandson or granddaughter comes, you have a granddaughter, I have a grandson, if they come and we decide to go out for ice cream, I'm going to do that guilt-free, and then I'm back on track, because that's okay. That's part of our life, you know? Yeah. But when you do that, and the longer you're in balance, you feel these things called phase benefits. So you might notice maybe you're a little bit less stressed right off the bat. Oh, okay, that feels good. And then you'll notice, oh, I'm starting to get hungry at certain more intervals. My metabolism's turning on. Oh, that's great. Oh, maybe I feel stronger at the gym. oh, maybe now my pants are a little bit looser because I've got rid of some of that bloat. Oh, right? It continues to go on and on and on the longer you do these things that are healthy for you. Mm-hmm. And then when you do have that ice cream or that thing with sugar, or you go out for pizza or whatever, you have a small blip in your radar. Right. You don't have those huge spikes and crashes that cause those huge imbalances. Yeah. It's just the little blip in your body's like, oh, okay, you shook me up, but I can recover from this really quick. And it comes back into alignment.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Much faster.
I think that should cover today.
I think so.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. It's not going to stress me out if we end now.
There you go. See, even the stress level's low.
That's right. We're just rolling with it here, right? Like we just have a lot of fun here. It's all good.
Yeah. So we thank you for watching KelownaNow. Again, there's a form on the bottom if you want some help or direction. You can just reach out to Tania at Fit Nutrition, and she will gladly help you.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you for watching KelownaNow.